The only day kids get to eat every day is at school. School meals is where they find the food. Well, the problem is, according to Make America Healthy Again and the folks there in these headlines here, school meals have a lot of junk in them. Dyes, fat, sugar, additives. You know, all things that make kids grow up big and strong. And we were just talking about the obesity problems in America. Something Ivy and I talk about quite a bit. Ivy's here with me. We had a great weekend. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
So if it's the only meals they're getting in a day, and I bring this to your attention, the state of Arizona has a bill that would remove additives from school lunches. A Texas bill has lawmakers debating whether to remove artificial food dyes and other additives. Probably a pretty good idea, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It is pretty sad how many kids in America have to actually go to school to eat. And it's really, the numbers are pretty ridiculous, sadly. It's another thing, though, it reminds me, again, of all of this money being utilized for illegals. And, you know, when they get gift cards or credit cards or they get a free hotel stay. And we can't even take care of our children in America who are poor, who don't have enough money to eat at home. So they go to school, that's generally they have breakfast, and then they have lunch at school, and then those are the only meals that they're eating in a day. Probably because their parents have several jobs, single-family homes. They just don't have the resources to eat. And so when we're talking about, okay, the schools are probably bringing in the cheapest food that they could possibly find in big cans, and who knows where it comes from. It is just not a healthy option. And, whatever happened to that Michelle Obama initiative, kids eat healthy and you put healthy stuff on the menu, which I thought was a good idea. I just thought the implementation of it was poor. But yeah, I think offering kids.
That's true of a lot of things in government. Here's a really good idea. Let the government try to roll it out. Falls flat on its face. Now, what? She was right then. Look.
She was right.
But when you look at school lunches, I mean, you need different choices. Ketchup is not a vegetable, all right? I mean, part of the problem, we talk about the food pyramid, right? It's been completely wrong your entire life, my entire life.
What is the number one thing is grains, and you don't need grains in your diet at all.
Right. The point that I'm making is that food pyramid was applied directly to school lunches.
Right.
One government agency saying, well, this is what you need to do. So then you got the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, boom. They're putting in all the grain that you just put. You got this food pyramid that, and there's, so you're getting all this, carbohydrates by way of pasta and bread and all these things. And what
which are generally enriched or fortified or bleached, or all of these things that then rip away all the nutrient density, and then they have to put the nutrients back in, through a scientific process. So, and a lot of people don't handle enriched products very well. I am one of those. I do not, if I eat enriched foods, it makes my stomach hurt like crazy. And that happens to a lot of people.
And I've told this story before, and I'll say it again now. My grandmother, who lived into her 90s, but way back in the 1970s or 80s, told me, I was in her kitchen down in Monroe, Michigan one day, she goes, I can't eat that bleached white flour. I said, why? It makes me bloated and feel unwell, basically.
Right.
And that was 40 years ago, 50 years ago. She knew, her body knew way back then, and yet we've continued to subject our children and our grandchildren to this food that my grandmother knew way back then was garbage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's hope that RFK and the folks that are now in charge of our food system, essentially, can help to remove these products from our food, giving our kids some better choices. And, listen, it's a tough thing. I mean, I think about when our kids were younger and they are super picky and they don't want to eat vegetables. I mean, let's get down to the basics, right? We need protein, fruits and vegetables, more vegetables than fruits. And it's okay. I think carbs get a bad rap. I think carbs are actually important, but where are you getting your carbs from? It's not a, enriched white, it could be whole wheat bread or.
Sure. But it reminds me of, Brother Shane ain't eating anything green except for green peas. There'll be no broccoli. There'll be no asparagus. There'll be so there are people like that, Brother Shane.
Sure, and there's other alternative ways. Like one way that for our son, I generally always give him a smoothie in the morning, and I throw a tremendous amount of spinach or frozen kale or whatever into his smoothie.
That's because he's spoiled, rotten.
Well, he is a little spoiled. However, it's easy and you don't taste those things. And so it's just one extra way to get a vegetable
pound
in that you
nutrition
wouldn't.
in.
Right.
Yeah.
Because really all of us, not only our kids are very nutrient deficient, but even adults are nutrient deficient because they're simply not getting the amount of vegetables that they need in a day or in the amount of fruits. I mean, a lot of people don't even eat these things when you
That's
think
true.
about it. And it's really sad so that they don't realize how nutrient deficient they are. And then their bodies just day after day after day are nutrient deficient and they're
Well,
not
think about it.
they're not operating optimally, and then they feel like crap all the time.
Well, yeah. Well, think about it. If your life is food out of a box, I mean, and that's millions of people.
Right.
Of course, you're nutrient
Well, we run on
deficient.
convenience, right? I mean, the reality is we're all very busy, and we just need to make things fast. And it's really not meant to be that way. And the things that are like really easy to make, there are some better choices. However, it's just a lot harder. And
more
I
expensive.
know it is a lot harder to make things from home and make things from scratch, but that is quite frankly the best way.
It's more expensive too, though. I mean, look, food out of a box is cheap and fast and
cheap.
convenient.
Absolutely.
And then what do you get?
Well, and it's the reason, exactly, 100%. And it's exactly the reason that, people eat out so much.
Right.
It's just because of this busy factor, especially if you have more than one kid and they're in sports, you've got sports every night.
You
Plus,
run around and
Yeah,
the school play, the school band, even anything,
Exactly.
school activities in general, right? Then you got a kid
Absolutely.
on a traveling team, and good Lord, the whole world. Anyhow,
It's just
I
very
think we can do
busy.
better, and I agree with Maha. That's my
Well,
takeaway
let's
here.
hope that, we can have some better choices for school lunches, school breakfasts.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
Ivy, nice to see you today. Love you.
thank you, Steve.
All right, we'll take a break and be back. I mean, we're blessed to have her in the second hour. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Back in a moment.